Harry and Meghan are moving back to Britain with their children, but Buckingham Palace isn't exactly welcoming them back with open arms. The palace has already made it clear they won't be returning as working royals, and that's not the only door being kept shut. Let's get into it. The story broke on August 19, when the Telegraph reported that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are planning to move back to Britain, relocating from the US later this month to a private residence outside London, with their children Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet enrolled in British schools for the coming term. Within hours, every major outlet from CNN to the AP had it confirmed. NBC's source didn't deny it. A BC's source confirmed it was accurate. This wasn't speculation anymore. It was happening. Here's the detail that matters most. Harry's father, King Charles III, was first made aware of the couple's plans on Sunday, and is said to welcome the opportunity to see more of the Sussex family. Sunday, not during their visit to England the month before, not in a private conversation at Highgrove. A call after the decision had basically already been made. King Charles was first made aware of the plans to relocate on Sunday, indicating that this was not raised nor discussed during the couple's family visit to the UK in July. Think about that timeline for a second. Harry, Meghan, and the kids had just spent time with the king in England weeks earlier. They sat with him. They let him meet his grandchildren again after years apart. And at no point during that visit did anyone mention that a permanent move back to Britain was in the works. The family's planned move was not raised or discussed with the king and queen during the Sussex's visit, a source told ABC News. The king found out the same way most of the public did, just a few days before it went public. Now here's where the palace's response gets cold, in the most bureaucratic sense of the word. The official language coming out of Buckingham Palace wasn't a warm statement about a family reunion. It was a clarification of status. People reported that the king was informed of the couple's latest plans on Aug. 16 and welcomes the chance to see more of the family in a private capacity, adding that Buckingham Palace has been clear there will be no change to the couple's status as private, non-working members of the royal family. Read that again. The palace's first instinct, before anything else, was to draw a line. Welcome to see them, sure, but don't mistake this for a royal reunion. Prince Harry and his wife, Meghan, have decided to return to the United Kingdom for an extended stay starting this fall. But they won't resume their roles as working members of the royal family, the Associated Press learned. That's not a footnote, that's the headline of the palace's actual position. And it echoes something the palace has said before. Back in 2020, when Harry and Meghan first stepped back, the official word from the institution was measured almost to the point of frost. Buckingham Palace responded to their initial announcement by saying discussions with the Duke and Duchess of Sussex were at an early stage, and that while they understood their desire to take a different approach, these were complicated issues that would take time to work through. 6 years later, the temperature hasn't changed much. It's welcome but categorized. It's access but not reinstatement. Reporters picked up on it immediately. Australian outlet ABC put it plainly, describing how the palace has reportedly been clear that a return to the royal fold is unlikely. And the half-in, half-out model Harry and Meghan, proposed all those years ago to Queen Elizabeth, is still opposed by her successor. That's the coldest read of all. Whatever door this move opens, the palace has already told the press which doors stay shut. To understand why the palace is careful, boundary-setting language landed the way it did, you need to rewind just 1 month. To Harry's July trip to Britain, the same trip where the move was never even mentioned. That visit was supposed to be a step toward reconciliation. Instead, it turned into a case study in how tense things still are. The move comes on the heels of Harry's contentious visit to the UK in July, where his offer to stay at Buckingham Palace was rescinded, and he had to walk back initial plans to travel with his wife and children over security concerns. An offer to stay at the actual palace pulled back. That's not a small snub. Australian reporters covering the same trip described it as rocky from the start. The run-up to the July trip was rocked by setbacks, with media outlets quoting sources close to Harry as saying the prince would be staying at Buckingham Palace in London, only for the palace to deny it, saying Harry had not accepted the invitation to stay at the official residence sufficiently far in advance. A scheduling technicality, officially, but nobody in the royal press pool read it that way. Despite the rocky lead-up, the visit itself produced something nobody expected. On a quiet afternoon that July, the family did meet, away from cameras, away from the noise. On a quiet summer afternoon in July, King Charles III reunited with his prodigal son, wife and grandchildren at a private residence in the picturesque English countryside. At Highgrove, far from the prying eyes of the press, the king and Camilla hosted the couple and their children for more than an hour. It was, by most descriptions, the first real sign of a thaw in years. The meeting was one few had thought possible 6 years after Prince Harry and Meghan Markle made the stunning decision to walk away from the royal family. But warmth at Highgrove didn't carry over to the rest of the family. While Charles opened a door, his elder son kept his shut. While Harry has recently met with his father, there are no signs of a warming of relations with his brother, Prince William, the heir to the throne. That detail alone tells you how uneven this reconciliation actually is. One relationship might be thawing, the other one hasn't moved in years. And then there's the security fight, which has shadowed every single conversation about Harry bringing his family back to Britain since 2020. Harry lost his automatic taxpayer-funded police protection after stepping down as a working royal in 2020, prompting a years-long legal fight over security arrangements, and he lost his appeal in May 2025, when the Court of Appeal upheld the bespoke, case-by-case security arrangements established for his visits to Britain. He didn't hide his frustration about it either. At the time, speaking to the BBC, he said he couldn't see how he could bring his family back to the UK, even while adding that he still hoped for something better with his relatives, saying, "I would love reconciliation with my family." So what changed between losing that appeal and enrolling his kids in British schools? According to reporting picked up by People magazine, Harry never actually stopped pushing. Prince Harry has continued pressing the government for a fresh risk assessment, arguing none has been conducted in more than 6 years. And the family's decision to establish a British base reflects his belief that the security picture has improved enough to base Meghan and the children there again. In other words, this move isn't a peace offering to the family. It's a bet that the security situation has quietly shifted enough to make it livable. There's also the matter of where they're actually going to live, because that detail says almost as much as the palace's statement did. This is not a return to royal property, it's the opposite. The couple will keep their Montecito, California, home and their vacation property in Portugal, while setting up a private, non-royal base in Britain, marking their first UK home since they gave up the lease on Frogmore Cottage in 2023, after King Charles asked them to vacate the Windsor residence following the publication of Prince Harry's memoir, Spare. That's worth sitting with. The last time Harry and Meghan had a home tied to the royal estate, it was taken away after Spare came out, a book that didn't exactly do the family relationship any favors. In a series of interviews in Harry's memoir, Spare, the couple said they left Britain to escape the restrictions of royal life and criticized palace officials for being insensitive to Meghan's mental health, while alleging that at least one member of the royal family had expressed racist views when she was pregnant with their first child. Now they're buying or renting their way back into the country on their own terms, privately, with no ties to the crown estate at all. So here's where all of this lands. The palace confirmed the move. The king said he welcomes it. And in the same breath, the institution made sure everyone knew this changes nothing about titles, duties, or standing. That combination, welcome plus boundary, is the whole story of this reunion so far. It's worth remembering just how far the relationship has traveled to get to even this point. Back in 2020, when the split first happened, the Queen's own statement carried a strange formality to it, noting that following conversations with the Duke, the Queen had written confirming that in stepping away from the work of the royal family, it was not possible to continue with the responsibilities and duties that come with a life of public service. The patronages were handed back, the military titles redistributed. It was final on paper. 6 years on, the same institution is now saying, in effect, come back to the country, just don't expect the redistribution to reverse. Royal commentators picked apart the timing almost immediately. Some pointed to Meghan's lifestyle brand as a factor, noting she's expected to keep running as ever from British soil, which tells you this isn't a retreat from public life, it's a relocation of one. Others zeroed in on the optics around the family's popularity gap, with one commentator bluntly framing the return as Meghan stepping back in not as a subdued royal outsider, but, in his words, as one of the Californian business elite, flying the flag of mindful wealth. Whether that reading holds up or not, it captures how differently this version of Meghan is being received compared to the tearful exit narrative of 2020. There's also the matter of what's still missing from every single report on this story: an actual invitation back into royal life. There are no public plans for Harry and Meghan to resume their royal duties despite their move to the UK. That single sentence, repeated across nearly every outlet covering this story, is the clearest signal of where things actually stand. Geography is changing, status isn't. And the family dynamics underneath all of it remain exactly as complicated as they've been for 6 years. Charles opened Highgrove's doors for an afternoon. He didn't open the door to reinstatement. William hasn't opened anything at all. The children will start school in England come September, meaning Archie and Lilibet will be growing up minutes from the grandfather they've barely seen, and an uncle they may not know at all. That's the part of this story that doesn't come with a palace statement, because there isn't one to give. What the move back to Britain does confirm is that Harry and Meghan aren't done with the country that shaped their entire public identity, for better or worse. They're moving toward it, choosing schools there, keeping a foothold on 2 continents while planting a third. But the palace's own language, chosen carefully and repeated by multiple sources independently, tells you this isn't a homecoming into the fold. It's a family living near each other again, on separate terms, with the coldest part of the welcome being exactly how clearly that distinction was drawn. Whether that thaw with Charles turns into anything more, or whether William's silence hardens into something permanent, is the part of this story nobody, not the palace, not the Sussexes, not the commentators, can answer yet. For now, the family is closer in miles than it has been in years. Everything else about the relationship is still being negotiated, one careful statement at a time.